So, you want to play against the meta. It's okay. I was dropped as a baby as well. Playing against the meta is to tacitly acknowledge what that meta is. You have to accept its strengths and exploit its weaknesses. It is fundamentally an exercise in respecting what you're dealing with and working around it. That's right, respect. You know, like exuberantly pressing the like button like your mother taught you right. As of the making of this video, the most commonly used weapons in Destiny 2 are hand cannons, fusion rifles, pulse rifles, and shotguns of varying descriptions, but they all abide by the rules of the sandbox, and there's one simple concept that governs just how effective all of them are. And once you understand it, you'll be able to formulate a plan of attack against any player using any loadout on any map. So let's get into it. My name is Ascendant Nomad, and I'm your Crucible Doctor. The really crazy thing is that you already know what this concept is. If you've been playing for any length of time, you are well aware of how it affects you. It can be quantified, but it is most easily felt in the heat of the battle. The key fundamental of playing anti-meta is to understand the concept of engagement ranges, or quite simply, the range of distance which your weapon can effectively cover. Engagement ranges are the range values where your weapon is most effective. The range bar is fundamentally irrelevant to this concept, because what's most important is the on-the-field behavior. The Messenger has a similar range bar to a well-rolled Shayura's Wrath, but there's no way you'd consider them competitors on any level of the multiverse. So instead, we break down engagement ranges into the following categories. 0 to 6 meters is your danger close point-blank range. This is the exclusive domain of shotguns. 6 to 11 meters is your close range. This is the domain of slug shotguns and sidearms. Fusions can also work rather well here, but slugs are the strongest. 11 to 17 meters is what I would consider medium close range. This is SMG and fusion rifle territory for the most part. It's also where a good grenade launcher user can find a lot of success. 17 to 32 meters is what I would consider your mid-range. Hand cannons, auto rifles, rapid fire and adaptive pulse rifles, high impact fusion, and grenade launchers. And 32 meters or more is the domain of longer range weapons in the game, 120 RPM hand cannons, high impact pulse rifles, and scout rifles. All of these ranges together cover the range spectrum, which I've represented with this handy dandy illustration. You have your main classes of weapons, hand cannons, shotguns, etc., but then you have subfamilies of all these weapons called frames. On screen now are all of the different archetypes and all of the different engagement ranges they function in. Screenshot this video now and save it because it's going to be a handy reference for later. The key to building a meta loadout is to pick two archetypes that help you cover the majority of the range spectrum that you want to operate in. This is influenced by two major factors: the map and your playstyle for that game. So if you're someone who likes to stay back, yeah, you could pick up a pulse rifle, but make sure to pair that with something closer range. Special ammo weapons tend to have the ability to one-shot kill, so it's always useful to have something using special ammo in your back pocket. Currently in Destiny 2, most of our engagement ranges center around mid-range combat. It's the preferred operating range when you consider the speed at which players make plays, the overall prevalence of abilities and their strengths, as well as just how the current maps are designed to play. We don't have anything supremely long range, bring back First Light, you cowards, but we have lots of maps that play up close and personal and mid-range. That doesn't mean you have to pigeonhole yourself into one loadout that's the most effective, you just have to find the spots and the lanes in the map that suit you best. So, that's the preamble. Now how do you actually play anti-meta? As we know, different archetypes of weapons have different effective ranges. Shotguns are for point blank, SMGs, rapid fire fusions, slugs cover that close to mid-range, yada yada yada. I'm not going to repeat myself, look at the graphic again. I won't cover the individual mechanics of how weapons can be effective. Your range, impact, and handling stats all dictate this, as well as the hidden zoom and aim assist stats which you can check out on DIM or d2gunsmith.com. All you need to figure out is, what's the minimum safe distance to use my weapon, and what is the maximum distance I can use my weapon before it starts doing less damage? The answers for this don't need to be exact. They can be broad descriptors, and they're fundamentally just suggestions. Just because a Chrysura Mellow is supposed to work at messenger range doesn't mean it can't do work up close too. The way to play anti-meta is to figure out the engagement ranges that make the meta weapons what they are, and find a way to counter them in conjunction with a playstyle shift. If those engagement ranges cannot be countered, then try and build a loadout that works for a playstyle that can outmaneuver them. Simple in practice, extremely difficult in theory. I know most of you that clicked on this video want a magic solution to beating hand cannons and shotguns, so here we go, let's talk about them. Remember, the first step to beating something is to respect what makes it so good in the first place. Hand cannons offer a huge amount of burst damage per bullet, and they cover a wide variety of engagement ranges. They can be feasibly used from close range right up to mid to long range, depending on the weapon and the role. They can be used from behind cover, in the air, and comfortably in a team shot scenario. They sport such high aim assist values that for those who know how to place their reticule in someone's general vicinity, they will hit their shots with relative ease. Shotguns, on the other hand, are the ultimate close-range killers. One-hit kill ability which, whilst RNG in nature, is still consistent enough to pull off with regular usage. Slugs are even scarier in this respect, but the head must be hit for a reliable kill. Playstyle-wise, hand cannons are very comfortable against everything in the mid-range, uncomfortable up close, and borderline useless long range. Shotguns are the point-blank weapons and rely on the user to close the gap, or if you're a smart shotgunner, baiting people into closing the gap for you. Together, this combination covers, conservatively, 75 to 80% of all engagement ranges to be found in Destiny 2's Crucible as a result of the maps on offer and the way people like to play. So, how do you counter a hand cannon and shotgun user? You either engineer a hyper-aggressive playstyle that makes life uncomfortable close up, or you hang back and pop their heads off before they know they're in your lane. The first option seeks to counter the comfort ranges. Hand cannons are comfortable mid-range, shotguns are comfortable point-blank, so we operate in that gap, the close range. We use sidearms, fusion rifles and SMGs, we use 720 RPM auto rifles, we use fast time to kill killers and close the gap to make sure that they never get settled. Faster firing weapons increases the amount of flinch dealt, which makes it harder for them to land and time their shots. Hand cannons have a glaring weakness. If a bullet is missed, the likelihood of securing a kill goes way down, and it gets worse the more they miss. This option works on most maps, so my recommendation for an anti-hand cannon loadout is a 900 RPM lightweight SMG like Multimac and a rapid-fire fusion rifle like Null Composure or Cartesian Coordinate. You can certainly build around this to make it more effective with dexterity, targeting, scavenger and high NG fire mods, but none of it matters if you don't know how to build a rhythm with aggression and if you can't move between cover. Which is why the second option may be a lot more compatible for a lot of you, hanging back and waiting for the target to enter your crosshair. My default weapon for this is a high impact pulse rifle, which flinches like hell and a 0.67 second time to kill, paired with a shotgun for up close and personal battles. The comfort zone between these two is greater than that of a hand cannon and shotgun, but the playstyle dictates that you're either using one or the other in the extremes of which they function. For 99% of the time, you should have your primary out, look for where the action is, and find the lane that can see it, whilst further away and in cover. The shotgun is literally just there to give you an option in case someone rushes you, which is a noticeable side effect of this playstyle. If you turtle around the map, so to speak, you are prone to being caught out by someone who just might be in the right place at the right time to push you. So there you are, a template to create a plan to counter any playstyle, meta or non-meta. Find out what ranges they want to play in, then engineer a playstyle that disrupts that. But that's far easier said than done, and it begs the question, is it even worth doing? For a lot of you, that answer is easy. Yeah, I want to learn how to play anti-meta. I'm sick and tired of dying to the same things and feeling like I can't find back. Good, but you realize you have to put on weapons you don't like, and play in ways unfamiliar to you right now, right? If you're waltzing around now with an auto rifle, playing with a pulse rifle the same way isn't going to help you. Changing your loadout is easy, changing how you approach the Crucible is monumentally harder. You're taking it upon yourself to relearn how to play the game. And whilst the degree at which you do so depends on how much you're changing, the fact of the matter is that developing a playstyle can take a lot of time. For someone who can't dedicate their time to learning different playstyles, that can be a non-starter. The meta might shift with the balance pass that completely invalidates the way you play, well before you've gotten to master that style of play. How long does it take? Depends on the player. For me, I need a solid couple of days with a single loadout before I start to understand it, so around 6 to 8 hours of playtime in the Crucible. But I'm operating off a lot of experience and time that I've already devoted to the game. Lessons learned from years past accelerate that adjustment period considerably. If you only rock 1 or 2 loadouts in the Crucible, the adjustment period will be much longer. And another thing, we said meta loadouts cover a huge portion of the range spectrum. They're dominant because of it. Trying to fight that is a bit like wanting to start up an online shopping business in the age of Amazon. Some can do it, but most will fail. Isn't it just a better use of your time to get good with the meta yourself? After all, a big part of fighting the meta means understanding why it works. Now that you do, why not get good with it? Well, the answer to that is this. How much time do you have in your hands? If you don't have any time in your hands, you play Destiny casually and you're someone who wants to relax by playing Crucible, you will be better off learning how to play a hand cannon and a shotgun. The various metas over the last 7 years of this franchise have had spots for hand cannons and shotguns in equal measure, so if you can only learn one set of weapons, this would be it. You'd be safe. If you have around a few hours a week to play Destiny, then you're better off mastering what you've got going on for you right now. Focus on getting good with one loadout before you move on to the next one. And if you've got over 10 hours per week, then I recommend you full send into your anti-meta mastery journey. The best players have a range of different archetypes in their inventory for different maps and game modes. They have builds that they can adjust on the fly or are pre-made to work with the playstyle and loadout they're going for. These players can come up with solutions to different problems on the fly because of their experience in dealing with different players, different circumstances, and different processes. They can deal with them because they took the time to get themselves into those situations. They ran an SMG in a pulse rifle meta, a fusion rifle during a shotgun meta. They stayed on the sniper after their flinch got nerfed, and they sought to understand the value in running auto rifles when a hand cannon was the safer option. The players who experiment with the meta are scarier to come up against in competitive and trials, because they have the answer to deal with the problems you want to present to them. The rest is a matter of execution. And if you want to leave your fate against smart players up to the RNG battle that is the unique blend of Destiny 2's netcode, registration, and aim assistance, well, be my guest. I hope this video was helpful to you, and if it was, be sure to leave a like on this video. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions and what you think I should cover next. Until then, I'm Ascendant Nomad, and I'm your Crucible Doctor. Cheers.